The two finalists are both native Californians. Dr. Susan Enfield grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, and Dr. Lamont Jackson is from Southern California. Saturday at noon, they will be together in the same room for the first time. Dr. Enfield has been superintendent of the Highline Public Schools in the Seattle area for the past 10 years.
I am a big believer that we have to choose our professional home wisely, just as we choose our personal home wisely.
Dr. Jackson is homegrown.
Born and raised in San Diego, I am a product of San Diego Unified School District. So this, to me, is home.
Jackson has been interim superintendent since last summer when Cindy Martin resigned to join the Biden administration in Washington, D.C. The job requires leadership of almost 120,000 students, 14,000 employees, including about 6,000 classroom teachers. There is a $1 billion annual operating budget, too. This is why Dr. Enfield applied.
I wanted to look for districts where I felt the values, the practices matched my own. And I believe that's the case in San Diego for so many reasons. Leadership stability at the board and staff level, a community that deeply cares about the education of its children, and a real prioritization of acknowledging the rich diversity.
In fact, the San Diego Unified student population represents 15 ethnic groups and more than 60 languages and dialects. Enfield is white, Jackson is black.
I believe this is the time for stability and for consistency and for coherence. And as a former area superintendent, chief human resource officer, a principal, a teacher, a student in this district, I believe I bring that to this district.
Dr. Enfield was interim superintendent of the 50,000 student Seattle School District before moving to the nearby Highline Public Schools in 2012. That district, with just 18,000 students, is located in neighborhoods near the SeaTac Airport. She would bring what she calls the Highline Promise to San Diego.
The emphasis on the whole child and on community, and on looking at our children from an asset, not a deficit-based perspective. Those are things that are all, I think, incredibly important, knowing every student by name, strength, and need. How can we assess in San Diego children who are not known in their schools by name, strength, and need, so they graduate prepared for the future they choose? And I think that would be the biggest challenge.
As interim and incumbent, Dr. Jackson assesses his district's strengths and weaknesses this way.
We were able to identify the gaps where we weren't meeting the needs of our students. We were able to identify students by name and by need and really have an aligned focus to create environments worthy of our children, to increase engagement. When we are working in isolation and not coming together as a collective group of adults to solve these questions and these problems that we face for our young people, then that would be a measure of us not achieving to the levels that we need to.
Inequity exists in San Diego Unified when it comes to the discipline of students. Statistics show that black students are 3 times more likely to be suspended than white students. The question is, how can the district do better?
I think too often, and why we see some of these disproportionate discipline numbers, is we punish the behavior before getting to the root of the problem. So making sure that a student is known, that we look into why we're seeing the behaviors that we're seeing, and then figuring out what that student needs.
We certainly have to hold them accountable, absolutely. But during that engagement and during that accountability, we have to show them compassion and love and kindness. We all make mistakes. But those of us who come out of it can point to people who've supported us. That's critical. That's how we change this narrative for our Black children and all children.
Saturday at the public forum, both candidates will also answer questions about COVID vaccinations, mask mandates, virtual learning, and anything else the public wants to know. M.G. Perez, KPBS News.